Let's start. Hello, everyone. Good evening. I welcome you all on today's webinar on the payroll setup in Odoo 19. First of all, I thank you everyone for taking your time to join this webinar. Okay, I'm Pinky Shah, host for today's webinar, and our mainly focus will be on the payroll setup in Odoo 19 itself. This is our main agenda. Just let me introduce me and my company. This is Pinky Shah, working as a functional consultant, senior consultant at Techvaria. And along with that, I'm a YouTuber. And if I just introduce my company, the Techvaria, we are Odoo partner and we having the existence at Dubai, Bangalore, and India in Ahmedabad. We are dealing with our different businesses to streamline their processes using Odoo with inventory, manufacturing, that HR, and main payroll also. But our mainly approach will be on vanilla implementation. We are focusing first on vanilla implementation. We are asking our users to work with vanilla, and then the requirements not match with vanilla, then we are moving towards the customization. Let's start with that payroll. Okay, that payroll is quite sensitive in any area of organization. Any small configuration mistake or setup can impact on employees' trust, that financial stability, as well as that organizations. In Odoo 19, that payroll become more structured, more powerful, but if it configured properly. So our today's agenda will be that how you can set up your payroll correctly. Our main focus will be on Indian localizations. Okay, in that we will see everything start from scratch to payroll generation. Means we are going to cover that recruitment, then my employee management, employee creation, main revamp feature that Odoo 19 has regarding that contract template that we are going to focus. Then based on that salary structure, salary rules, and we are just going to generate that payslip in the bunch of employees. Okay, so without wasting the time, let's jump to the database. Before that, let me share my screen and just go with the PPT so you can understand that what's agenda of today's. Okay, so let me share my screen. And here, if you have any queries, you can drop your email at info@techvaria.com. Otherwise, you can drop your queries in the chat also. Okay, so just let me share my screen. I hope my screen will visible. Okay. So let me just start with that agenda. This is just more introduction of my Techvaria company, that we are just dealing with our Odoo services, starting from that implementation, migration, that training, all services regarding with Odoo. Okay. So here, as I mentioned, we will start with the recruitment, then our employee creation, employee management, and that very important in Odoo 19 with the bank, and that bank must be trusted. I will discuss this later. Then along with that, we will cover that time of management. So you will get that exactly work entries, and based on that work entries, we are getting our payslip. This is my payroll setup, and here you can see that we have that main revamp feature regarding with that PF and ESIC that Odoo has introduced in Odoo 19. Okay, so this is regarding my payroll setup, salary structure. This is my pillar for any salary creations. Okay, that payroll structure rules, and that rules will create my structure, and that setup we are going to just run our payrolls, and finally we will do the reconciliation. So whole cycle will be covered in one chart, recruitment to my payslip generations, and we will see the how which reportings Odoo 19 provides. And if you have any questions, you can drop the email on info@techvaria.com. You can just note that email also. So future for any queries, you can connect us. Okay. So now this is the just one simple presentation for my payroll. Now let's jump to the database. Okay. Let's start with that use case. Okay. That in Techvaria, we have that requirement for Odoo functional consultant. As Odoo partner, we are just focusing with Odoo. So what we are going to do, we are starting with the recruitment, and first step that we are creating that job positions. I have already created some of the configurations for time purpose. Okay, so what happens, this is our configurations for my job positions. Let me just open that. Okay, we have a requirement. Seriously, we have that requirement. So if any employees require that, we are just going to publish. So here you can see that currently we have the target of 2 employees. We are expecting the skills. You can add those all information what you require. Okay, here we can add that my interview. If you want to add that interview form, you can. And here we can use that email alias concept also. You can add that department, job locations. If you want to add the summary, that trackers, that you can add those. But one important thing, just I'm going to publish on my website. So any employee, any candidate can apply through our website. Okay. So now based on that, what happens? Odoo functional consultant. So let's move towards the website and let's check how it looks in our website. Okay. So now here we have that jobs. In jobs, I'm interested in Odoo functional consultant. So we have that 2 open positions. Okay. I'm just going to refer this job description, role description, everything. And just I'm happy to apply at Techvaria. Just going to click on that. And I'm just using any random names currently. PPS Shah. Okay. I'm using one of your email, goal41986@gmail.com. Okay. You can add that phone number also. LinkedIn profile you want to add, you can. And just I'm going to attach the resumes. Okay. I have added one of the resumes for that simplifications. And if any introduction you want to add, you can. Now here, just let me add some of the numbers. And I'm feeling lucky to apply at Techvaria. Just let me click on that. And based on that, what happens? This request, this candidate's profile will be generated, will be registered in our recruitment. Let's look into our recruitment. So let me go to the recruitment. Here we have that applications, by job position, by talent pool, by applications. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to open this. And here you can see that we have one member who is applying for Odoo functional consultant. Okay, so these are the all stages for new qualification, first interview, second interview. You can configure the stages from your sides based on your requirement. Okay, so now let me check into it. Oh, this is all the informations what she has applied on the website, automatically captured in our form view. Here there's details, skills. If you want to add, you can. Now this is just one stage. Now what we are going to do, we are going to schedule the activity. We are just calling that employee, that employee is qualified or not. So we are just going to, I'm just scheduling the 1 or 2 activities. Okay, because this is main agenda is on payroll. Okay, so what activity I'm doing, I'm calling them on which date? It's on the 24th. And the assign to, it's assigned to any employee. I'm just going to assign to Pinky Shah. Okay, I'm just going to save. So based on that, what happens that user will get the notification. Just I have this activity and I have to perform. After calling that employee, find that, oh, this employee is perfect to go in the next round. So just I'm passing that. Yeah. After that, we are scheduling the first interview and our second interview, and everything we can schedule by the scheduling the activity. We can schedule the meetings, that video that my video link, we can everything shared by this activity. Okay, now after completing that first and second interview, that employee is eligible to apply to work in Techvaria with functional consultant. So what we are going to do, we are sharing one contract. So how we can share that? Just give a button. Okay, request signature. If we have already that template, we can choose that. Otherwise, just going to, and we are going to send. Based on that, based on these actions, what happens? This request for contract request is shared to that particular employer. That employee will check that contract. If the signature will be required at the necessary place, they will do, and that contract signing process will be done. Now, based on that contract, we will pass that contract proposal. And after the contract signed, here you can see that we are getting that automatically ribbon, green ribbon for that hire. Means that employee is already hired in Techvaria. Now, this is just one recruitment process. It's a vast, but for speed up the process, I am just covering in the short. Now, this is our first step. After hiring, our second step is employee creation, employee management. Here you can see the options for create employee. I'm just clicking on that employee, create employee. Okay, so all informations are fetched properly. Along with that employee, if you want to create the users, you can. Just if you want to add the resumes, here you can, resume is there. If any certifications you have in 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, you can add. Now here, just let me just create the users first. Okay, we have created the user. Okay, now here most important thing is in the person. Whatever information you want to add, you can. But one information that is mandatory to generate the payslip is regarding with the bank account. This bank account you have to configure properly, and that will be trusted. Let me open up some of the employees that I have already configured. Okay, so I'm just going with one of my employee. That is Pinky Shah. Okay, I have already created. Okay, so now in that personals, here you can see that this is very important. Please make a note. This is very important. You have to add that bank account, bank, and along with that, this must be trusted. You have to make these options trusted based on that my accounting entries and that payroll payment part will be worked. Okay, so now this is my first step that you have to make in mind. Now one important change in Odoo 19 is regarding with that contract template. In Odoo 18, if you have remembered that we have a concept of contract template, that we are going to create the contract for Pinky, we are going to create the template, that contract for X employee, Y employee, but here we haven't that separate menu for that contract. Here everything is summarized with one of tab, which is the payroll. Here we have that contract template. Just let me just duplicate, and you can find what exactly contract template is and what information you can capture in that contract template. Okay, so now I'm going with that contract template, and this is important. I have created one contract template based on my employees. You can create as you require. Just I'm giving the glimpse of how that Odoo contract template works. Here you can add that job if you want to add, and this very important thing here, Odoo has divided this salary into different salary components. Here you can see that the basic salary, house rent, standard allowance, fixed allowance, and any benefits you want to add. So this is just one standard template, and then afterwards we are loading the templates to employees. Okay, if you have that classified the employees as seniors and juniors, and based on that any changes in that basic salary percentage in fixed allowance, and based on that you can add more templates. I'm giving one more examples like ESIC. Okay, some of the employees whose salary is less than, then we can give them the ESIC. So based on that you can create the one more template regarding that ESIC. I'm just concentrating on one template here. Fixed wage, that pay schedule. If you want to schedule monthly, you can. I'm not selecting any wages over here. Okay, contract time, I'm selecting that permanent. Here this pay category, I'm considering that India employee pay. Okay, we will check, we will look into it later, what's the salary structures and salary rules. Here I'm concentrating on basic salary. What I am considering, this basic salary will be the 50% of my gross, so I'm just going to add. House rent will be the 40% of my basics. I'm going to add that, and here I'm considering, I'm just giving the 1600 to our employees as a fixed allowance. I have just fixed this template. Okay, and here along with that, what I'm going to do, this is my PF and ESIC. If you want to activate that, then for that in Odoo we have that settings in the general settings. So what I'm going to do in the payroll configuration settings, here you can see that India localization, it is my EPF, ESIC, PT and LWF. By activating this boolean, you will find those features in our contract template. Okay, so now this is regarding with that. Here ESIC, I'm not considering the ESIC, otherwise it's a 3.25 and 0.75 based on that employer and employer. Here you can get those PF for employer and employer also. Okay, and here I'm professional tax slip selecting as a Gujarat. Okay, and this all information I have captured in one standard template. Okay, now what next thing I am going to do, this is for the demonstrations. I'm considering one of the employee that we have created previously. This is my PPS. Okay, So this is my employee. Now currently in the payroll here, you can see that no any information, there's 60%. Now I'm just creating the contract. You can create the contract, you can apply that contract that when that employee has started her or his journey in that organization. So if let's consider January, this is for my first, and this contract will be let's end by the December. Okay. So now this is here we have options for the history also. So after that, if you are creating the another contract, you can find those all contracts in the history also. Now here I'm just loading the template. As I'm loading the template here, currently we have only one template. I am selecting. Currently you can see that there is no any information here. You can see that on 60%. If I'm going to load that template, loading, here you can see the all informations are changed and fetched up whatever we have configured in template. Now, most important points here, as I mentioned, the wages for that employee is 50,000. Okay, so based on that, here you can see this is very important that basic salary, house rent allowance, that my fixed allowance, all captured automatically, and based on that your PF for employee and PF for employer is also counted automatically. This is very important over here. This is new in Odoo, my Odoo 19. Okay, now let me go towards the next here. Now let me discuss on that our salary structure and salary rule. As I mentioned that it's very important when we are calculating the payroll salary structure that employee follows in which salary structure. Means that one umbrella. In umbrella, my structs are that my salary rules. So salary rules prepare my salary structure. So currently I am following only one salary structure. I'm not going deep dive into the salary structure. Otherwise it will be one more webinar to discuss on that salary structures. Okay. So now here currently I am using my salary structure, which is, let me go with that payroll. In the payroll configurations, and this is my structures. Here I'm going to use that employee regular pay. So this is my salary structure that Odoo defines here. That contains my, as we know, basic plus allowance will make my gross. There is a deductions. If any PF, that PF for employee, ESIC, every salary rules we have to configure to prepare that salary structure. Currently, I am using this basic taxable salary. This is nothing but my gross. This is my attachment of salary. Assignment salary I'm not going to use. Then child support, deduction, reimbursement, and net salary. Let me go with the next also, so it will be more clear. I'm going to use that Indian employee. Okay, this is my basic salary. This all are my allowance. Basic plus any kind of allowance will make my gross. So all allowance we have that work as a salary rule to prepare that salary structures. Here this professional tax, my provident fund for employee, that gratuity if you have, that ESIC, that my assignment of salary, that deduction, reimbursement, and my net salary. This is one my salary structure and salary rule. Along with that, it is important to apply the account on salary rules. Okay, so based on that, your accounting entries will be clear. Let me open one of them. Okay, here if you can see that my basic salary, here we have all that condition based on Python code, and I'm not going to discuss right now. And the accounting, here you can see that debit and credit account. Here we can set that salary expense for basic salary. For here, house rent allowance, you can see I have separated out house rent allowance. You can separate it out DA allowance if you are going to create the rules for that. Okay, so based on that, you can find that particularly entry that how much amount is debited for that particular house rent or basic. Okay, so this is regarding with that accounting. So now one important thing that we have to check that working schedule, because in Odoo, Payslip generated on the work entries. We have three kind of the work entries, which is the attendance, my working schedules, and the planning. But currently, I'm going to use that working schedule. So what's exactly working schedule is that? So let me go with my employee and the employee itself. That my here my payroll. And the payroll, this is contract that we have to fill. It's mandatory. Now here you can see that work entry source is the working schedules, and let's check. This is my working hours. That's under 40 hours per week. So based on this working entries, my working and sorry, based on this my working schedules, my working entries are generated. So here, so this is Monday to Friday with my 8 to 12 and that 12 to 13 that break, and that that 13 to 17, this kind of working schedule. Okay, so this is very important. Employee creation, employee management, along with that, here that working schedule is very important. Salary structure, salary rules. Along with that, here we are going to allocate that time off, because your time off is important. We are going to allocate that paid time off, that sick time off. Based on that, your pay slip will be generated. That plays an important role to generate my salary. So what I'm going to do, I'm allocating some time off here. So this is my time off. In that, we have that configurations. Currently, we have paid time off, sick time off, unpaid, all that. Currently, I'm allocating some of the time off to my team. So here, allocations. This is my, you can use that group allocations also. I'm just creating for one employee. Okay. Yeah, I'm just, if you want to do for that any employee, you can select one of them. How many leaves? If you want to allot that 10, you can do that. This is the paid time off. Okay. You can do that allocation of the group allocations also. How it works? Let me do that. New group allocations by employee, and which time off you want to give. Sick time off. How many days? 3 days per year. That is the, you can, by this way, you can allocating the time. So now that my time of allocation is also was. Now, along with that, we have a concept of other inputs. Okay, what exactly that other inputs are? If we have any concept of bonus, if we have any concept of overtime, along with that, any reimbursement is that. If any employer has taken the advance from the company, how we can manage that? That we can manage with my other inputs. I have just created the other input for advance. So for that, what we can do, payroll, in the configurations, we have that other inputs. Yeah, other inputs that I have created one for advance. Okay, so you have created for that my bonus also. Now here, country, if you want to apply for any particular structures, you can. I'm just going to apply for Indian or India regular pay or regular pay. Okay, just create it. Now what happens? We have to create the rule also. How we can create the rule? Okay, let me create the salary rules. I'm creating for my advance. It's my advance. Code you want to give, you can. Category, of course, this will be my deduction, then you can. Otherwise, okay, so this is my country taxable. Okay, now I want to apply the salary structure in regular pay, in irregular pay, you can. And now here it's a condition based on. This is very important. Here you have to select my other input, and you have to select which other input. It will be advance. Along with that, my amount type will be the other inputs, and I have selected that advance. Okay, this rule I have configured. Now let's check which kind of other input we have created. So for that, let me open that. I'm creating that for one of that. Here, employee, for particularly, let's consider for Chetan Verma, what kind of other inputs? Advance. Okay, that payslip, let's consider we have given that company has given that 12,000 for any particular consent, and then he asked to cut that 1,000 amounts from each salary slip. So 1,000, it will be negative value, and from it will be from my limited, it's from 12,000. So it will be start from 1st January, and each month my thousands will be deducted. Based on that, there is no need to create the other inputs in the payslip. Odoo will take automatically in that payslip. Okay, so all configurations perfectly configured. Now let's check on the work entries. Now these work entries are important source to generate my payslip. Okay, so yeah, let's check the work entries. Okay, so here you can see that my work entries are created. I'm just giving one example for Pinky. Okay, Pinky Odoo. Here you can see that this is my attendance. Okay, here all attendance, and this is my, she has taken the paid time off. So here you can see that it's a PTO. If any unpaid is that, then you can find that unpaid. Now everything works, and now I'm just going to create. First, I'm going to create the payslip for Pinky, and then we will generate my bunch of payslips. Okay, so here in the payroll payslips, here if you want to do for one, then new off cycle for which employees? Pinky. I'm just going to select. Okay, for employee, here you can see that based on employee selection, that structures comes automatically. Okay, and now here she has works for 20 days. One is paid time off and one is the unpaid. Okay, so now as I will click on my compute sheet here, and the salary computations all works perfectly. Okay, here it's Indian regular pay, so basic pay, house rent allowance, that PF for employee, and net salary. We are getting all the computation properly. Now this is very important, how we are dealing with that payment part. Now afterwards, here we are just going to create the draft entry. So here this draft entry is created, and along with that draft entry, here you can see that the journal entry is created. Now just let me look into journal entry. So here you can see that based on that account configuration on the rules, this entry pop up perfectly with that salary expense payable. Here you can see that credited with the 44,090. Okay, and I'm just going to post it. This is very important. Now afterwards, this is the thing that based on we have just worked with that generation of that payslip. Now important part is regarding with payments. So here let me go with that. Here you can see that the create payment report. Now what we are going to do, we are going to create that payment advice that we are going to forward to our bank to do the payment to our employees for the salary. So I'm just going to, if you want to payment advice CSV, and we are going to generate it, and it will be generated, and we are asking our bank to do the payment, and afterwards if the payment will be done, then pay bank and create the payment, and payment is done, and then we will reconcile from the bank side that all to perfect that my payment set, that payroll cycle. Here just I have to do for one employee. Now I am going to do for that bunch of my employees. So let's please concentrate on that. That is very important over here. Parent. Here you can see that this is revamped in Odoo 19. Here in that sections, you will get all the information from one screen. Okay. New salary structures I want to do for that Indian regular pay. It's a monthly. I want to do for that January, and I'm just continue. I'm selecting for my any department, that is my Odoo department. Okay. Here for Odoo, we have that Sanjay Prajapati, Hitesh Gandhi, and Karan. Selecting that 3 employees and select. Okay. And here you can see that we are getting that options for create draft entry. Here, this is new in Odoo 19 with ready, done, and paid. Currently, it's ready. Here, if any changes in that, salary inputs, currently we have added the salary inputs for another employees. If we have did that configuration for particular employee, then it will come up automatically over here. That current, this is for Hitesh. If any information will be changed, so here you can see that also that for Hitesh we have did that my other input at once, so it comes automatically with that salary salary computations. Now afterwards, if any changes will be there, that accountant or that HR department will do. Now afterwards, just going to create the draft entry. Okay, so now based on that, here you can see the change status is changed from ready to done. But more important point that I have mentioned earlier, it's a bank configuration. It is mandatory to configure the bank with the employee. If you haven't configured the properly bank with that employee, then this status will not change from ready to done. It will be converted into ready to waiting. It gives you a pop-up that still the bank configuration is pending. So this is the reminders. This is the one kind of notifications that Odoo provides to give the proper configurations for the bank. Okay. Now everything perfect. Now what we are going to do, let me check on that. Okay, fine. Along with that, here you can see that my journal entry is created. So just I'm going to post it for the next employee. Again, I'm just going to post it. My another employees, I'm just going to post it. Okay. So now afterwards, the most important point to create the payment report. Okay. Here it's payment report. Now here it's payment advice. Okay. And here you are required that NEFT transactions you are going to do and generate the XLS file. Okay. And let me open that. So let me just pull up that file. Yeah, that's here. Okay. So now here, let me make it bigger. So here you can find for current, this is my account number, this is IFSC code, and how much amount that will be. Okay. So this is the advice we are going to forward to a bank, and bank will do the payment for particular these accounts. Okay, so this part is clear. Now on that, after that after the payment from the bank, we are just going to pay our employee. So we are making those things perfectly over here. Okay, now this is the part done. Okay, now but still the reconciliation is pending. So how we can check that? In the accounting, this is regarding with my vendors. Of course, this employs my vendors. If you will check the vendors, okay, so here this is for my, yeah, this one 3 for today. Okay, so here you can see that currently these are in progress. Okay, so what we have to do, along with that, we have to create the, currently I'm creating the transactions in the bank. So if all the transactions are combined in your bank transactions in one line, you can do like that. If single separate entry in the bank transactions, you can do that. I'm just doing for one. Okay, so let me do in the duplicate. I'm considering one of the payments. Okay, this is for 23rd of January. I'm considering Hitesh Gandhi. Okay, in progress. Let me go with the dashboard. Dashboard, I'm creating one of the transactions. Okay, here it will be payment to, who is my employee? Employee is my Hitesh Gandhi. Okay, so my partner is Hitesh Gandhi. Okay, how much amount? That amount will be, it's a 65,200, and it will be a minus because we are 65,200. Okay, and based on that, I'm just adding and close, and based on that, if we will reconcile, then that my payment will be from in progress to pay. So this is the whole cycle, will be from recruitment to my that payslip generations. Let me print one of the payslips also. Okay, I'm just going to pull up one of my payslip. Okay, and here print, and all informations you can capture in one payslip. This is regarding with the whole cycle. I am not going deep dive into the each part. Just I'm going to summarize everything from recruitment to payroll. Here, Odoo allows Odoo giving us that most important reporting. This is regarding with that EPF, ESI, and one important is regarding with that yearly salary by employee. Just let me pull up that. Okay, if you want to add, you can for particular employee. Okay, I'm just going to do for Hitesh, selecting and print. Based on that, all information printed will be in one. Okay, so currently it is for 31st. No, it's for that. It's for December. So, but the salary will be for my January. So I'm going to do for the 2026. Okay, let's check. So here you can find all the informations properly. Okay, so this is very one important reporting for my that. Okay, now along with, let me check with the others. That EPF, April, I'm selecting that January. Okay, so this is not, this is my January. Let me find. Okay, let's check on that January. Okay, so in that January here you can see that the all information, EPF wages. This is one kind of the reporting that Odoo provides. Let me work with the next. This is regarding with the ESI. Okay, this is labor. If this rule, if configured for any of the employee, if those employees are eligible for that, then we can find that. This is regarding my salary structure. Okay, which salary structures in your regular pay, and based on that, we are going to export that. Okay, if any overtime, overtime will be there. That is also overtime concept is also introduced in Odoo with the attendance. We have one rule for that in the attendance. Let me just look into this. Yeah, overtime rule set. This is the new in Odoo 19. Based on that, Odoo will we can if any employees has work on that non-working days, on working days with extras, we can give them that 100%, 200% compensation also. Okay. So now let me look into that payroll again. Reporting, labor, salary registers, all kind of reporting. And if we will check into the payrolls, yeah, everything is there. Okay. So let me just group by my pay schedule. If you want to group by the pay schedule, then you can. Okay. I'm just going to group by the status. You can. Salary structure. I'm just going to group by the salary structures. You can. Okay. So here, this is for my ready. This is for my pay. This is my cancel. So currently for this India regular pay, that the cycle, we have completed the cycle. For that, here you can see the ready, done, and pay. Currently, this all are ready. The meaning is that the whole still the process is pending. So this is just summarizations that how my payroll will be work. Okay, that from scratch to add. It's just giving the glimpse for that. Okay, so just let me stop the sharing and let me cover up everything in one page. We have started. I'm just concluding everything. We have just started with that recruitment. Okay, for that we are going to use that recruitment. Any employee are interested in that job positions, apply for that. That would in Odoo it will be automatically captured. We can follow all the steps with that first stage, second stage. We can send that. We have here the salary configurations also. We are just forwarding that template, and that employee can configure that salary, that changes, what advantage, what benefits they want to get, what they don't require, that all we can configure. After contract signing, we have just created the employee. That employee management, as I have mentioned in the employee management, most important is the bank configuration, and the revamp feature in Odoo 19 is regarding that contract template. We can create the different contract template as we require, and just we have to load that template to our employees. This is a revamp. So based on that, that basic will be counted automatically, that HRA will be counted automatically. That we have covered. And as I have mentioned, that salary structures and salary rules, that all that salary rules, if you want that salary inputs. If any advance will be there, any reimbursement, any bonus, you can create it. And after combining that, you are able to print any payslip. Payment payslip is important, but along with that, that payment part, okay, that payment advice, that reconciliations, everything will be done, and the whole cycle will be completed. Okay. So this is just from my side. Okay. Just if you have any queries regarding this payroll, because of this time problem, you can just drop an email at info@techvaria.com. We are here to guide you further. Okay. If you have any questions, you can just drop an email. Okay. I'm just going to drop in our chat also, info@. If having any queries, you can drop. And the question answers. And thank you everyone to be on this webinar till now. Okay, I'm glad to that you all are here. This video will be posted soon on that Techvaria. Okay, I'm just waiting for a while if having any queries. Yeah, for that loan management also we can manage that by the other inputs. We have that our payment terms. Using that payment terms also we can configure that. Okay, but both we have to combine, and then we can find it. You can drop the email on Techvaria, info@techvaria.com, and we will guide you further. You can just drop an email to our email ID. I like that I'm getting the more questions from audience side. Okay, but thank you everyone that I'm waiting for your all queries on my email. Otherwise, you can drop on, let me drop, you can drop that your query on pinky.as@techvaria.com. We have two emails, info@techvaria.com and pinky.as@techvaria. You can make a note on that. Okay, see you soon. We will meet again with the next webinar. We have already published webinar on manufacturing. This is on payroll. We will meet you soon on the next webinar. Thank you, everyone. Have a good weekend. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.